So we are joined by the Brand X method today, and one of the things that they specialize on is children's fitness. And we were just talking before, and I was saying I was excited for them to come on and talk about kind of what they have going on for children at home all the time, but especially right now. A lot of people are still stuck at home across the world, and so if you have kids like me, then you're probably needing good, healthy activities for them to do. And what's fantastic is these habits that they learn through people like you guys will carry on not just while they're stuck at home, but for a lifetime. So I'll let you guys introduce yourself, and we'll kind of go from there.
Awesome.
Jeff and Mikki Martin. I'm Mikki. And we have been working with kids for a little over 20 years, ran a functional fitness gym for a little over 20 years, and now are really focused on education so we can serve more children. So although leaving the gym environment was tough because of the love of and interacting all the time, we realized that if to really complete our mission to do what is best for kids, we needed to serve more kids. And to do that, we needed to really be out there getting more coaches involved, programs in more places, more schools, getting parents to understand the mission, all of it. So that's what we focus on now globally. But we do have 3 labs around the world, which are sort of R&D facilities. So we have ideas and we send them out to them, testing, coaching, movement, practice, strengthening tools, all kinds of things. Is this working? Can we tweak it a little bit? Making sure that everything we're doing stays fresh and because we can't stop the ideas coming in, so we have to have a way to test them. And we do actually now coach a small group of teams here. Couldn't really stay away completely.
I think,
and then I'll let Jeff.
Well, I was just going to say, I think the other thing about what we've done is we started over 20 years ago doing this, and the methodology, the philosophy, and what we're doing, it continually expands and changes, not just because of what we learn, but also because our culture changes. Things adapt. We have to adapt and keep adapting to address what we're seeing. What we're seeing, things like a decade ago, we started seeing this rise in youth injuries in sport, and there was a lot of discussion about, well, youth are specializing too early, and certainly that's part of it. But there's also a part of it that where kids have stopped playing outside, kids have stopped having just common movement, and so what we started to see coming into our gym was these kids who had what Mikki coined the phrase movement gaps, like a kid who, instead of being able to just jump with 2 feet, they'd go like this. And you'd say, no, jump with 2 feet. They do this. Well, they're missing something neurologically.
There's just lack of exposure.
Lack of exposure. And then you take that kid who has those kind of movement gaps, they can't skip, they can't side shuffle, they can't jump, put them into a high school sport. What do you expect to see? They can't rely on what normal human movement that has evolved for thousands and thousands of years. And then all of a sudden they have to spontaneously react. And we see that as part of why those injuries started to come about, and kind of took that whole turn to say, part we do is watch what's going on in the culture, watch what's happening with our kids, and how do we adapt in the gyms and PE programs that we're running to address things and to help fill those gaps in and reteach the movement.
So I'm just curious, you mentioned the 10 years ago thing that you started really seeing this in culture. I feel like, and maybe this is not the case, but I feel like I'd say the last 5 years or so, we've almost seen a shift back in the other direction. And when I say that, and again, maybe this is just a bubble that I'm in, but I even hear, college students now were, at one point, it was kind of the trendy thing to do to, smoke or drink and I'm sure that still is popular. Don't get me wrong, but it's almost shifted to where there's a whole nother trend of being healthy, eating healthy, being active is kind of trending a little bit. Am I missing that, or do you guys see that as well?
There is, as you know, there's a pretty good functional fitness culture around the world that's growing. So there is that, and that's very positive, but that is still a micro percentage of population. So if you look at population overall and a skew of the average child, maybe say go to a school. For instance, we went and volunteered at schools and ran programs at schools to make sure what we were telling people to do at schools would actually work at schools. So we went and did it. And so that would be more of a randomized skew of people from all walks of life, you know, everybody's kids, right? Some of those were kids who had grown up in the gym, so to speak. And we saw them, but fortunately, those were maybe 2 to 5% of the kids we were seeing. So what we're wanting to do is help as many kids as possible. And although that is a nice, growing, positive thing to be looking at, we still had the majority of kids coming into the gym without what we would consider normal human movement exposure.
Yeah, I remember the first day of working at this elementary school. We got a group of kids, and they were the first group was 4th graders. So we had 75 kids with Mikki and I and one other coach, 75 kids, and they were we were just going to have them do 5 lunges and then run to the end of the field and come back and kind of get in line and 90% of the kids couldn't get up off the ground with one leg.
Really?
And it's just, yeah, and it was amazing. And then so now you can't lunge, and then we have to start to develop a method of teaching a child how to move with one leg and be stable on one leg. And it was a fascinating time for us, but also really scary when from our gym experience and seeing kids come into our gym, those were highly motivated kids often. So, hey, everybody could lunge. Walking into an elementary school in a fairly well-to-do area.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the kids were like, latchkey kids and couldn't, didn't have access to sports and things like that.
And it was even SoCal, so the weather was good.
Right.
It wasn't like they were stuck inside freezing weather.
Right.
No. So that, there's all kinds of reasons why it can happen, environmental and socioeconomic reasons. But these kids were not exposed to those things, and literally kids couldn't get up off the ground with one leg. They couldn't lunge. You watch some kids even take the step to lunge and begin to bend the leg and fall over.
So do we blame a lot of this on screen time? I mean, is that what y'all see?
It's not necessarily screen time, although there's some great work out there by Dr. Jean Twenge of San Diego State on what that has done, and our observations and movement gaps align exactly with when our phones became internet connected, which was around 2011. And that's when we started to see that pattern of, whoa, they don't have this normal vernacular that we always saw before. All of a sudden it's not there. That's what was happening. But it's not the screen is bad or that we should be all no screen time. What it is that what it's substituting for. So it's that they're lacking other things. It's not necessarily that the screen is in and of itself that's bad, but it's taking time from things that are incredibly important developmentally, psychologically, and socially huge to have exploration and experimentation time that free play provides, where there's no device, no rules, that allows for creativity and that experimentation. Kids, when they have time to experiment and try new things, start to develop less hesitation in something new. So what they're seeing are these sociological studies that are showing that kids who had free play and had the time to experiment and explore aren't blown away by new circumstance. But kids who have not had that time, something new comes up and they have no tools, because all they've experienced is, say, organized sport, or everything was going to fit into a certain expected way of happening. And then they have things are unexpected. So they're really, it's all about what they're missing and what they're not doing more than it is about what they are doing with those phones.
I think one of the things they were saying is 2011, the devices started to come up, and what they're seeing is as the use of the device started coming up, and as we pushed those devices down into younger kids, what we saw is free play started to decline. And then we have the increase at the same time of organized early specialization in a sport, which parents, of course, say, well, my kid is playing a sport. Well, that's quite a bit different to play baseball, all year round when you're 7 or 8 years old. It's very different than at the end of the school day. I come home, I go outside, I gather with my friends, we play pickup ball in the lot during baseball season. Now it's football season, we're playing football. Now it's basketball season, we're playing basketball together. We're making up rules, we're using odd objects to play with. All of those things are increase the experience of the child in moving in different ways and learning to adapt and to
dealing with the unexpected.
And so we're seeing that, that's the rise in the screens, which everybody says, well, screens are bad. It isn't the screen, it's what it replaces. And then the fact that we're substituting free play with organized play, where an adult tells you, stand in line, we're going to go do this, we're all going to swing,
And not to mention the stressors of that. So people don't think that through. Oh, my kid plays, he plays sports. But the amount of stressors that are involved when you wear a uniform, the team is counting on you, there's coach, there's an audience, there's a whistle, there's a timeline, there's stats, there's practices. I mean, think of the amount of things that come together that create, there's some pressure there. Well, that turns off the miracle grow for the brain, BDNF. That's not coming in now. So the more stress we have, the less of it we get. I should edit what I said there. So we don't want to increase stress. We want to decrease stress to get all the magic out of the free play. So we don't want rules, timelines, uniforms, whistles, parents watching, coaches' expectations. We don't want that if we want all that magic to happen. And
we just want kids to get out and play. And that's what you guys are saying. So when kids get home from school, to where, say, maybe I would go out, ride bikes, go play at the creek, build a fort, whatever. Yeah. It's not that the screen is bad. It's that when they come home and instead of doing those things, they're playing on their iPad or something along those lines.
So it's limiting what are really necessary experiences. And going back to around the turn of the 20th century, around 1900, there was a researcher called Carl Gruss, and he looked at animals and why they play. And it's I think called the survival theory of play, so that they play at things that keep them alive. So if you think about, mountain lions and their cubs, what are they doing? They're playing chase, and they're attacking each other, grabbing each other by the neck, climbing trees. That's the stuff they need. That's the juice to keep them alive. Well, if humans stop doing whatever it is that we do when we play, what does that say? What does that potentially change about us into the future? So there's some really big, important things going on with that and the loss of it. And so we're very obviously dedicated to promoting, getting people thinking about it and looking into the research. It's a really active area of research right now. There are a lot of people out there talking about it, and even for adults.
Okay, so in step, you guys, and in its simplest form, how are you guys approaching that problem or those problems and trying to help?
So within our several ways, within our programming for the little kids, free play is in there as much as it can be. Now, because we do a class and there is some structure and there's some rules, you can't hit other people and that sort of thing. We have to.
Well, you can, and it's happened, but we don't encourage it.
We call it movement play. So what we're trying to do is inject as much of the beautiful things that happen in free play into moments of our class. So we're trying to allow for as much experimentation and exploration as possible, because those are the areas where kids find how they solve problems. So knowing how to solve a new problem is just a huge skill in the future, and also doing it socially and learning that other people have different opinions, and they can walk away from the game if they don't like the rules, those kinds of things. It makes you have to learn to cooperate, and also understand that people have different perspectives. There's all these things that happen there. So it's pretty simple, putting into a game actual play. And the key things are exploration and experimentation. So we want them to have some creativity in the way that they address a movement problem, what we call a movement solution. And the teams,
I think it's
done a little
different. But I think
different.
let's kind of just go globally. We break our kids up into biopsychosocial groups. So biologically, what can a child express? Psychologically, what can they understand? And socially, what do they need? So we break these up into groups of 3 to 8, which we call our Explore group, 8 to 12, which is Express, and then 12 to 18, which are the Excel group. And those groups need to have things that are kind of addressed differently. They have different needs. So, and so our program is built kind of the ground up. What are we trying to accomplish? Well, we're trying to accomplish in the gym that kids can use the lessons they learn in the gym outside of the gym. We're trying to increase physical literacy. And when you address physical literacy when they're young, as those kids kind of get into the preteen teen years, those are the kids that the coach goes, well, this is a natural athlete. This kid just walked onto my because they've got all of the tools that so we divide our classes up throughout the different age groups in this prepare, practice, play format. And prepare, we introduce physical literacy skills. So it might be like, this is our warm-up today. We're going to throw the ball with our right hand, and then we're going to skip over here, and we're going to do this. Maybe we're going to do a forward roll or something like that, and maybe do 5 air squats, something like that. In the older group, we might link the things together. I want you to jump up and down on your right leg and throw the ball with your offhand 5 times. So we're trying to, we're taking the physical literacy skills and we're making them more complex, linking them together. Handstand, I want you to handstand walk across to here. I want you to do a forward roll out of the handstand walk. I want you to bear crawl 10 meters. I want you to seamlessly move into a sprint. So I'm taking these things and using these as a warm-up. Moving to the practice section, we work on the 6 primal movement patterns. So, Mikki might be teaching kids how to hinge. Kids today, one of those movement gaps we see is kids bend at the SI joint. They don't hinge at the hips. So she's going to spend a tremendous amount of time just teaching her kids how to hinge. In the teen class, that working on the hinge might be picking some heavy stuff up off the ground. So we might, I'm working on deadlifts with those kids. And then we move to the play, and Mikki described play, and the younger kids play, and the older kids is, providing them movement challenges, movement problems, and have them try to figure them out. It doesn't discount necessarily having what you consider a workout, but the workout might consist of take a 12-pound medicine ball for 5 minutes, take a 12-pound medicine ball, throw it as far as you can, and then sprint to the medicine ball, do 5 burpees. So the kids who figure out how to use their body to chuck the ball furthest can do less burpees. But I'm not going to tell them, hey guys, remember how we were talking about the hinge? Let's hinge and throw it over our heads and do this. I'm going to let them try to figure out how to use their body.
That's the explore experiment.
And how to play this. I might do it with a partner. So the 2 partners get to kind of go back and forth on that. Or we might set up one of our favorites was to set up a kind of a course around the gym and say, okay, start here and end here, and get around the gym without touching the floor. And every kid goes through and tries to figure out how to get around the gym without touching the floor. Or we play something like follow the leader. So a kid jump up on the pull-up bar and he'd do a few pull-ups. The next kid had to do those pull-ups and then add something else to go add something else. But it's all trying to be interactive and playing in that manner. That doesn't mean we don't do 7 burpees or 7 minutes of burpees for time. But
it's not just counting that our whole goal is fitness and youth development, but we just recognize that there's a lot to that.
But what comes out of that is kids who are physically literate, kids who move well within the standard idea of movement patterns, and kids who are able to express it. Well, and what that does is kids who then can walk on to sports and play sports that they never had played before. We had a young girl had this happen 3 or 4 times toward the end of our gym time with kids, but running our gym. But the last one was a young lady. She's 18. She went to UCLA, walked onto their rowing team, and made the varsity boat her first year.
Wow.
But she'd never rowed before.
But she'd never rowed before.
Yeah, just in the gym, I'm assuming.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
But
So
never on an actual boat. Yeah.
She'd been on a skier, and she had a fantastic rowing coach. I know literally nothing about it. Do we move this back and forth and try not to get tired?
But the mindset to not to just go, hey, I want to try that, and to feel physical mastery at that level that I can just try, not just try that, but I can walk onto a D1 team at varsity level.
Or try an activity. We had another young lady. She was at MIT. She went to MIT. Is at MIT, not now because things are different now. But called me at I think it was March or April and said, "Hey, I've decided to ride my bike across the U.S. this summer."
Wow.
That's a kid who's just I just see something and I'm
yeah.
And that's really what we're trying to accomplish. These kids they see activity as part of their life. They see challenges. They want to take part in the challenges, and they're capable. Confident, competent, and motivated to just challenge themselves.
It's like the next step beyond. We want them to love fitness, right? So we want them to have fitness for a lifetime. But what's the next step beyond that? It's I can do anything I want to do physically. It's a sense of confidence and that's
that they see movement as part of their life. They're not trying to solve a problem with fitness. So one of the things we see with adults is they come into the gym because the doctor said, I need to get on the bike, or I need to, get my heart rate up, or I need to do this thing, I need to lose 10 pounds. Our kids we want them to come out of our gyms with this, not with that mindset, but with the mindset of, James calls it, like fitness, moving is like breakfast. If you don't eat breakfast until 2:00 in the afternoon, you're going like, I'm hungry. I should be eating. We want our kids going with, hey, if I haven't moved today, something's wrong. I need to go do it because that's part of who I am.
And that's huge. That's huge as far as that being a part of who you are. And I know that's one big thing that we're trying to instill in our 2 boys is it doesn't have to be, like you said, a specific workout. It can just be getting out and jumping on the trampoline or running, down the road and playing tag and something like that. But getting outside, getting some vitamin D, moving, not just being sedentary at the house. Now, we would like them to eventually enjoy working out with us and participate with us, but that's something that will be totally up to them. And whether or not they want to play organized sports or not, we encourage it. But if it's not their thing, then that's fine too. But keeping that movement going is important for us.
One of the things we talked about early on was, pairing fitness and fun. So the kids saw movement as fun. The next level up was, pairing what you're doing in the gym with what you can do outside of the gym. So I go and do this in the gym because not just because I need to move, but because I can do that any way I want outside of I can go, like you said, trampoline, I can go for a run, I do stuff in the gym so that I can do more stuff outside of the gym.
Yeah.
We don't want our kids coming to the gym so they're good at gymming. We want them coming to the gym so that they're good and capable of doing whatever they want outside of the gym.
And right now they're good at homing.
Yeah, they're good at homing.
Well, but I see that. So my 7-year-old, one of the things that he wanted to do early on when he saw mom and dad doing it was pull-ups. So he started slowly working on doing some pull-ups. Well, we didn't realize, because he had been doing it for so long, how many kids can't do that.
Yeah.
So if he's at a playground or something, he goes to climb a tree and he grabs the branch and pulls himself up to get up into the tree. I mean, I would naturally assume that other kids could do the same thing, but that's not the case. And that's not a skill that they've developed.
So
And
what
that's exactly
yeah.
what we're seeing across the board. Those things that we just look at as natural or just sort of pre-existing vernacular.
Right.
It's just missing now.
But I also like the lessons this teaches them. So there's all kinds of lessons in physical literacy that is taught there. So I can do pull-ups. I can now go to a tree and I can pull myself up. That separates them from other kids. And not necessarily like, hey, look, I can do this. You can't do it. It's that they have a different perspective now than other kids who look at the tree and go like, I can't get up the tree. They have a different perspective. Secondly, without even you really telling them to do this, they've learned, your son's learned, hey, if I work on something and I have I kind of just keep doing it, I will accomplish that. That's a huge character trait that you can't, you can tell a kid to do this. You can tell them to, we're gonna talk about goal setting, and you can have them write out all kinds of stuff about goal setting. But until they goal set and until they do it in their own mind and they accomplish it, they don't learn it. So it's huge. Those are huge lessons.
Absolutely. The goal setting thing, and I don't want this to become a talk about my kids, but I have seen that. I'll leave it at that. It's fantastic when you see your kids at a young age set a goal physically and then go out and achieve it. And so I want to shift a little bit. We started hit on a little bit when we started talking about MIT and the student that was there because she's not physically there right now. So with the virus, which obviously has changed and may continue to change culture, we've yet to see. What have you guys seen different? What are you guys currently doing differently? And do you think any of those trends will continue?
So a lot of these things will have a little different perspective.
Okay.
So we'll answer separately because it might be a little different.
Sure.
So immediately we realized, obviously, that people needed, especially parents who are suddenly at home with their kids who are not coaches, but parents at home going, my kids need activity. What am I going to do? So we started changing. Our training centers Our training centers get monthly programming as part of being a Brand X training center. They can use it or not. We like them to use it, but we provide that. So we just shifted that programming and made it available to the non-gym version, the PE at home version, available to anybody who asks us for it so that they could take care of their kids at home and keep them active. And then we created it as body weight only so that obviously they can be done anywhere with that in mind. We also created some videos from some people knowledgeable in child psychology, how to deal with the anxiety that's bound to happen, how to talk to your kids, how not to talk to your kids, how to help calm them. We posted those on our Instagram.
So all of these resources, the home workouts, the videos, all that's accessible to anyone for free. They just need to
anybody who asks. Okay. Yep. And then 9:00 on Friday mornings, Pacific time, I run a class also for anybody who'd like to join, but it is 4 to 11-year-olds. I do an AB group because obviously that's a pretty broad spectrum, but we do that as well right now. And we've created the Teen Fitness League to keep teens engaged. That is not a free resource. That's $20 for 4 tests, so it's a pretty low bar. But
yeah, and we'll circle back around to that. We'll kind of make that its own little portion here, if y'all don't mind.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. So those are the things, the resources that we've come up with. Oh, and the interview series as well.
I think there's a few things that we did. First of all, acknowledging a couple of things that I thought we were seeing. Immediately when people started getting locked down, there's kind of a panic. What am I going to do with my kids? And so we kind of for a couple of weeks, put up some things and asked people if they needed help, give us a call. But activities of the day. So things that parents had forgotten. Hey, say, take some chalk, make some a hopscotch. Get your kids outside and play hopscotch. Make it foursquare. Play foursquare with your kids. Play, so we had some ideas up there, and then told them, hey, if you want more ideas, call us, and we'll be happy to talk with you. With our training centers, we talked with them about setting up the Zoom classes for the kids, but more importantly, to talk to the parents, because it's two things. We serve the kids. We want what's best for kids, but the client is the parent. So now we're having this problem here where the parents are suddenly 24/7 with the kids. They're the science teacher, they're the math teacher, they're the history teacher, and the teachers are overwhelmed and don't know how to program. So they're sending home 10 hours worth of work for the kids, and so we were saying to our training centers a couple things. First, keep your class times. 4 o'clock is my juniors class or my kids class. 4 o'clock Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Call your parents. At 4 o'clock on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're going to get a half hour, 45 minutes off. Put your kid in front of the Zoom thing. Go here. Provide a service to the parents and it's necessary right now. The parents need to know that I can get a break right now. I can get some of my stuff done. If for 45 minutes they're going to be in front of that Zoom class. And then we also helped our training centers with some ideas of brain breaks. So we've been doing history for 2 hours. Let's get up. One of the things we were hearing from people is our kids are moving from the we're doing history for 2 hours, and now take 15 minutes off. And what do? They go over to the TV and sit down and play a game. Then they come back. Well, it's not good. So let's give them some short little things they can do with the kids for 15, 20 minutes before they go back to work out. And I think that was important for parents, from what we're hearing from parents. Those things were very important.
We also just actually yesterday launched a little interview series. And the first one yesterday was with Jim Kroll of OPEX, and it was finding rhythm, coaching kids on rhythm and purpose, coaching kids online. And he talked about his experience, which is pretty deep in online coaching, and the things that they've learned on how to keep the kids engaged and so forth and so on. But our series going forward is going to be what is best for kids. And it's not just going to be fitness only. It's going to be what is best for kids globally and all the things that inform our decisions and our program. So everything that we learn that has any applicability to what is the best thing we can do for kids gets somehow put in or considered into our programming. So that's another free resource. We're posting those to YouTube, I think.
That's what I was going to ask. So for the first interview, people can go to YouTube, just search the Brand X Method on YouTube and find you there. And then
Yes.
The next one, is it live streamed, or will it just be put up on YouTube as well?
It's both. And The next one is with James Fitzgerald of OPEX.
Okay.
And I don't know the date off the top of my head, but we will be posting it on our Instagram.
Okay,
And they
great.
can always get the live links from us by DMing us or info at the Brand X Method.
Okay. So obviously you guys are providing lots of resources, which is great. As I've mentioned a couple of times here, as one of those parents at home with 2 kids right now, 2 boys, it is challenging, and those 45-minute breaks, like you said, are fantastic. So if a parent is out there and has been looking for someone like this, I would definitely encourage that. So we were talking about the resources. And again, what I had mentioned earlier is I wanted to circle back around to the Team Fitness League before our time was up here. So you guys mentioned earlier it was a plan for 6 months from now, and you kind of sped that up. So tell us what the original plan was, and has anything changed since then?
Well, what's changed is everybody's at home. So, and it's all body weight. One of the things we want to do as a company is influence functional fitness competitions for youth and how they're expressed and how they're done. We were working with the IF3, produced a course on that. We've worked on the IF3 committee on what youth competitions should look like. And there's a couple of things we are really dedicated to. One was the idea that we really wanted kids to understand the difference between training and competition. And so just kind of like right from the start, the language, we're doing testing we're not doing workouts, because workouts are part of your training. And then you come to a competition and test your training. You know, when you go practice soccer, then you go play a game, you're testing how your practicing is going and what you're learning in practice. And we wanted kids to have that, to really be clear about that what we're doing is testing what your training has been, how your training has been. Then we wanted also to provide pathways forward. So you know, we have a couple of videos we do every week. One is choosing one of the movements in the test and talking about efficiency, how to be safer in the movement, how to move better in the movement, and then wrapping it up and talking about what we were actually testing and how they can get better at it. So the first test we had was 10 minutes of 10 bar-facing burpees, and then single leg hops over a bar, and 10 single leg hops to right leg, 10 single hops left leg. So certainly we were testing metabolic capacity.
And I thought that was interesting, if you don't mind, Jeff. So what made you guys choose to go with the hops on one leg? I thought it was wonderful. It's just not something that I've seen in the past. So I'm curious, where did you guys come from in deciding on that?
Yeah, it's programming. No, so one of the things we're seeing with, when we talked earlier about injuries, is this non-contact injury to the ACL. And it's much higher in females than it is in males. But what we're seeing now is kids, you know, planting their foot and starting to turn, and the leg just goes. That didn't happen 20 years ago. You know, we have some very high, what do you call it, examples of this in high level sports. RG3, you know, you just watch him jump, and you watch the valgus knees fold in, and then he had all the knee problems that got him out of sport. You see it in basketball all the time. Somebody lands on the one leg and the knee folds, and then they have a so. The idea was test the stability of the ankle and the hip, and then provide the kids that feedback. So you have kids who have been working single leg work, who were able to, unbroken, do those 10 hops back and forth on both legs. And then you had other kids who would jump over and have to put the other leg down, then pick the leg up, jump over, and jump back like that. Or they'd have to jump, you know, jump over. You see them double jump kind of, and then get ready and jump over again. So the wrap up that week was then to talk about the importance of single leg stability and how you can work on it. And so we produced a little video on, look, this is important. If you want to be a good functional fitness athlete, you should work on on single unilateral movements, but also if you want to be safer just in sport and life in general. And so so the test was to test where you are, now give you some feedback on that, and now have you work on that for a while. We come back to that test again and see how you improve.
Yeah, and I thought that was great, the unilateral movement there. It's funny, so we warm up sometimes at our gym that way, and I don't own a gym, I attend a gym. I'm a member of one, and so single leg hops over a line or something along those lines just to get warmed up. And it's interesting to look around. There's a lot of people that struggle with that, and I'm not saying I don't at times too, but that can be a more difficult movement than you would think if you just wrote it on paper.
Yep. Yeah. And part of what we do and what we've done over the last decade, seeing this rise, is a ton of after the play section of our workouts, both in the kids and the teen class, is okay. Everybody, take your shoes off. We're going to do single leg hops. We call them pogos. We do double leg hops. We do dot drills, barefoot, things like that. Because we're seeing kids' feet and ankles be weak, and so they collapse inward. That brings up the knee valgus, which is the movement pattern, which is most attributed to that non-contact ACL tear. So
to remove any doubt about the prevalence of that, was it Subaru who made the commercial?
Yeah.
There's a Subaru commercial where a dad is outside, his daughter's graduating or moving away, taking the car, and he goes through these memories of, growing up, and he finds her little bracelet from when she came back from the hospital, and something else that's a memory. And the last memory before she drives off in the car is her on crutches in a soccer uniform. And what appears to be healing a knee injury. And we realized, whoa, that is so common. They're using it as vernacular to recall memories of your daughter growing up.
Yeah.
Which should make people go, wait a minute.
Yeah. Why is that a normal part of a memory?
Yeah, so exactly. Why is that a normal part of kids playing sport? Kids playing sport having catastrophic injury is not something that we want to see. But the point, I guess, the kind of coming back around to what we were trying to accomplish is we want to help kids not just provide a pathway forward. We want to provide a pathway forward in functional fitness competition. So how do you get better at that? And then how do you get better as an athlete? How to get better. So this last test we had a bit of a core challenge, a plank challenge, and it was a discussion there. Like, look, if you don't know how to neutralize your spine, brace, you're not as safe as you can with lifting. And that'll affect you in functional fitness, but it also affects your mobility, and it also affects your power and strength output. So let's talk about how we get better at stabilizing our core. It's not through sit-ups and toes bar. It's through planking and hollow holds. Let's include those in there first.
So the Teen Fitness League in itself, for kind of like a broad overview, it's 4-week competition, ages 10 through 18. Is that correct? There's a 10, 11, a 12, 13 that are scaled.
Yeah.
And then the 14 through 18 would be RX, if you will. 4 weeks.
If they want.
Yeah, we offer scaled and RX really in all of that.
Okay.
And let them decide. Some of the workouts or tests are very much self-scaling.
And then at the end of the 4 weeks, that season, if you will, is over. And then you guys will roll into a new season, new 4 weeks of different tests.
We're going to give 2 weeks. We're going to have a 2-week break, and then I think we launch again on June 1st. And this time what we're going to do is we will have a body weight only category for those people who are still in lockdown, and we will have hey, the gym's back open, and we're going to the gym again. So we'll have a weighted gym equipment division as well.
Okay. So June 1st will be 2 divisions.
But
two challenges, really.
We are looking at maintaining the body weight only indefinitely, because we realize that engages a whole additional group of kids who either don't have access to a gym or just basically don't have access or are intimidated by higher level movement, what they see as higher level movement.
Yeah, I had at least three.
We think that'll continue.
3 parents write me and say, my son doesn't know how to do muscle ups yet. It's like, 12-year-old doesn't know how to do muscle ups yet, and they're concerned about joining the competition. So we want to keep something open for kids who just would like to challenge themselves, would like to test where they're at in fitness, and start, have a place where they can start, kind of an entry level something.
Yeah. And you're right. There's a lot of people that don't have access to a gym, so they can do these, or maybe they just don't have the confidence to, hey, I'm ready to do the clean and jerks at 150 pounds, 200 pounds, whatever it may be. But burpees and single leg hopovers and things along those lines, push-ups, sit-ups, everybody hopefully can do.
Hopefully.
Yeah. If not, they're working towards that.
They can try. Right.
And this I thought is part of the point of what we're doing is it is a fitness test. So if you're having trouble with it, that just points out what you and your coach should be working on next. So, are there things I can't do? Yeah, a whole lot of them. There's a whole lot of things I can't do.
Where's your coach?
My coach right here should be programming those things for me. But that's what we're trying to accomplish. Like, it's not just the adult model kind of is this, 3-day beat down kind of, this idea that can you survive to the end of this? Is it really telling you anything about what your fitness capacity is? Yeah, I'm sure, a sliver of it does. But for us, we want to see physical literacy. We want to see.
So even the test or something where you're taking it, you're learning from it, and
Yep.
hopefully you're getting coaching and getting better at that said test. Or moving.
Exactly was the whole point of what we're doing.
Years ago, we did something called the Gauntlet. And the Gauntlet, our whole purpose in that was we were seeing some real craziness in kids fitness, and we still do. Competitions where people are, urging intensity as like the primary goal for children who haven't been taught basic motor patterns or cannot brace their bodies, or there's some scary stuff out there. And honestly, I think more often than not, that's what you see in the kids' competitions. So we're very purposefully, as we started with when we did the Gauntlet years ago, trying to show something other than that there's a way to do this, to get kids to be very engaged with it, to really test them and give them something that's not easy to do, but yet encourage really positive motor patterns and not necessarily a beat down.
And what we saw was tremendous. We added, so generally a judge has a couple of responsibilities. They judge the range of motion, and they judge how many reps got done, and then they move on to the next thing. With us, with the gauntlets, we also added you have to judge the safety of the movement. So if a child's doing a clean and they're just back is rounded, stuff like that, the judge's responsibility was to put the foot on the bar and say, you've got to brace, you got to do this, or we're shutting you down. And the first couple of comments,
yeah.
we got a lot of hate, but it was really interesting. And it played out. It's played out over and over again in our own gym. And whenever you raise the bar, kids will hit that bar. So when you said, "Hey, I'm sorry, that doesn't look right. You got to stop," and you got the hate, that kid came back the next year, understanding how to brace, moving beautifully, and doing it. So that raising the bar, it really made a difference. And we hope that this will do the same kind of thing with Team Fitness League. Provide a path forward, help kids understand moving well, helps with efficiency, which makes you move faster or more load, and also you're safer.
Yeah, and do it in a safe method. I think that's the big takeaway. So, and we've all seen people at the gym, whether it's a Globo gym or other, that are moving extreme weights or extremely quickly, but maybe not very safely or efficiently.
Right, and they can do that for all. Sometimes some of them have a great deal of functional tolerance. So
it's a nice word.
That's Kelly. I'm stealing that right from Kelly Starrett. A great deal of functional tolerance, and so other people copy them. But eventually, that catches up with you. And one of the things we've said to our kids is that we don't feel like we're a success as coaches until we see our kids competing in masters divisions. Then we know they're moving well, they're moving safely, and they're able to continue to enjoy the competitions well into their adult life.
Yeah. And I love what you guys are doing. I know I'd mentioned that a couple of weeks ago, Jeff, and trying to help kids develop this early on and move well, move safely. And because, the bad mantra that you hear out there is that, you go do that functional fitness thing, and then a couple of years when you've had shoulder surgery, knee surgery, whatever, we'll see you back at, doing this other class or doing this other exercise. And that doesn't have to be the case. And you guys are definitely, I think, leading the charge from that youth perspective. So thank you guys for what you're doing there. Enjoyed watching this Team Fitness League start out, and can't wait to see the one in June where people are hopefully back in gyms, where maybe we're all back in gyms by then. So
there's a workout going up tonight, I think, the third one. Yeah, pretty interesting. I filmed Jeff doing it.
Yeah, I did 5 minutes of it.
5 minutes.
How long is it?
It's the RX. Yeah, unless you're going to go right out right now and put this up.
No. It'll probably.
Yeah, the test is going to be six. It's going to be 2 6-minute pieces with a 3-minute rest in between, and you're really one of the lessons here for the kids is understanding your own gearing. So you're coming into a competition. If you come out and you just blast through that first 6-minute section and you get a world-class score, and then you're flat on your back for 3 minutes, you stand up and and you're last on your. So this is a really good test to start to talk about. Hey, you're gonna do this hard stuff for a while, and you're gonna be really tired.
A little pacing.
Yeah. How do we pace through a test?
Yeah, that's one of the things that probably took me the longest to learn doing functional fitness was pacing. I had a tendency to come out really hot and die about halfway through. So
I was always mastered of winning the first half of the workout.
Right. These people slowly start creeping past you.
Yeah. I'm just everybody just move on by. Yeah, move on by. It's fine. Yeah.
Excellent.
But
you guys go ahead. I'm sorry, Jeff.
It's an important lesson if a child wants to move into functional fitness as a sport, and they want to continue as sport into their adult. Learning your gears and learning how to pace is critical. That's also critical in all kinds of other athletic activities. So I did some boxing for a while, and I got to tell you that you don't want to come out hot in the first round and then have to survive for another 5 rounds.
Definitely not.
Nope.
Definitely not. Well, guys,
so thank you for having us on.
Yeah, thank you for having
us.
Hey,
absolutely. Thank y'all very much for coming on and talking, and I enjoyed it. Personally, like I said, I enjoy learning and hearing you guys talk, and hopefully I can take little tidbits and help with my kids. But
awesome.
I'm sure there's hundreds and thousands of people out there that can benefit from what you guys are doing, and hopefully learn something new today. So
thank you. Enjoyed the talk.